You know that feeling when you walk into a casino?
Oh, yeah.
You might not even be a gambler, but you step inside
Yeah.
and the vibe just hits you?
It's designed to. There are no clocks, no windows.
Exactly. The lights are always set to this kind of perfect amber twilight that feels like 8 p.m., whether it's noon or 4 in the morning.
It's an environment specifically designed to make you lose track of time. It's actually a concept called temporal distortion.
Right, to dissolve that boundary between now and later.
The goal is to keep you in the seat, pulling the lever, by just removing any sign that the world outside is still, happening.
And usually when you leave the casino, the spell breaks. You walk out into the sunlight, you squint, and you're back in reality. But what happens when you carry that casino around in your pocket? You unlock your phone for, a 2-minute break while the kettle boils?
And suddenly it's been 45 minutes.
Your coffee's cold, you're late for a meeting, and you just feel kind of gross.
That is the autopilot mode. And for a long time, we've sort of treated that feeling as a personal failing.
Totally. I
Yeah.
just have no willpower, or I'm so lazy.
I should be better than this.
Exactly. But today, we are digging into a massive stack of documents. We've got official investigation findings from the European Commission, internal TikTok leaks reported by NPR, and the legal text of the Digital Services Act that all suggest this isn't about your willpower at all.
It's about a very specific, almost industrial-grade design aimed directly at your brain. We're talking about the mechanics of the infinite scroll.
And the breaking news here is that the European Union has officially flagged TikTok's design as potentially addictive.
And they are not just writing a sternly worded letter. They are threatening to break the very mechanism that makes modern social media work.
This is a huge deal. So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out, is this design actually illegal under these new laws? What is this rabbit hole effect regulators are so worried about?
And are we looking at the end of the infinite scroll as we know it? It's an existential moment for the whole app economy.
Because if the EU wins this, the way we interact with the internet, the actual way our thumbs move, could change overnight.
It really could.
So let's start with that diagnosis. The headline is addictive design. But that word addiction gets thrown around a lot.
Right.
I say I'm addicted to a TV show or something. What is the European Commission actually pointing at? Are they saying the videos themselves are the drug?
No, and that's a really crucial distinction to make. They're not talking about the content.
Okay.
They're not saying the dance challenges or the comedy skits are addictive. They are targeting the architecture of the app, the design.
The container, not the content.
Precisely. They've identified what behavioral psychologists call a compulsion loop.
A loop. All right. So how does this loop work? What are the gears?
It relies on 4 specific features that work together.
Yeah.
The first and the most important one is the infinite scroll itself.
The bottomless bowl.
Exactly. In psychology, we talk about stopping cues. Think about reading a physical newspaper. You finish an article, you turn the page, you finish a section, you put it down. There's a physical endpoint that makes your brain ask, okay, do I want to continue?
Or even watching old school TV.
Yeah.
The show ends. The credits roll. You have a moment to get up, maybe realize it's bedtime.
Infinite scroll just removes that stopping cue completely. There is no endpoint. The next video is already loaded and playing before you've even processed the last one.
But it's not just that it's endless.
No, it's how it delivers the content. And that's the second feature.
Yeah.
The ultra-personalized recommendation system.
An algorithm. The black box.
Yes, but specifically, it operates on a principle called variable ratio reinforcement.
Okay, that sounds like a term from a lab experiment. Break that down for us.
It's the exact same mechanic used in a slot machine. If you pulled the lever on a slot machine and won $5 every single time, you'd get bored.
Right, it's predictable, no thrill.
But if you pull the lever and mostly get nothing, but sometimes totally unpredictably, you get a huge jackpot. That drives the brain crazy. It's a dopamine flood because you're chasing the surprise.
So on TikTok, or Reels, the jackpot is that one video that makes you actually laugh out loud or teaches you something cool.
Precisely. You scroll past 3 mediocre ones, that's pulling the lever, and then boom, a great one. Your brain says, do it again, the next one might be a hit.
That anticipation is the engine of the autopilot.
Yes. You're not even watching because you're enjoying it anymore. You're watching because you're hunting for the next hit.
And then you add the other 2 things the commission flagged. Autoplay, so the machine pulls the lever for you, and push notifications, which drag you back in if you manage to escape.
And the commission's argument is that when you combine those 4 things, no stopping cues, variable rewards, autoplay, and notifications, you are effectively bypassing a user's executive function.
you're hacking their ability to make a conscious choice.
That's the argument.
Which brings us to this term I keep seeing in the notes, the rabbit hole effect. Now, we use this term casually all the time, right? I went down a Wikipedia rabbit hole.
And it's usually a good thing, curiosity.
So why is the EU framing this as a danger?
Because in this context, the rabbit hole isn't about curiosity, it's about entrapment. The Commission is specifically worried about minors. The algorithm finds a vulnerability or an intense interest, say, body image or depressive content.
Oh, wow.
And because it's only optimized for engagement, it just bombards the user with that specific type of content endlessly.
So it's not just giving you what you want, it's narrowing your entire reality down to that one thing.
Correct. The deep dive becomes a spiral. And because of the infinite scroll, there's no moment to step back and ask, is this actually making me feel good? Or do I need to see 50 videos about this in a row?
This feels different.
Yeah.
Usually when we talk about social media regulation, it's about harmful content, hate speech, misinformation.
It's a total paradigm shift. They're not policing the speech, they're policing the container. They are saying the design itself is the hazard. It doesn't matter if the videos are puppies and rainbows. If the mechanism is built to addict you, that's the violation.
Which seems so much harder to prove in court. But the EU thinks they have the weapon to do it. Let's talk about the Digital Services Act, the DSA.
The DSA is massive, it's very new, and it fundamentally changes the liability model for these companies.
How so?
Previously, platforms just had to take down illegal stuff when they found it. The DSA says, no, if you're a very large online platform, a VLOP, that's the legal term, you have to proactively assess systemic risks.
Systemic risks. That sounds incredibly broad. What does that actually cover?
It covers public safety, civic discourse, and crucially for this case, physical and mental well-being.
So if your product design makes people depressed or addicted, that is now a legal compliance issue.
Theoretically, yes.
Okay.
And the teeth on this law are sharp. We're not talking about $1 million fine that a company like ByteDance can just write off.
What kind of numbers are we looking at?
Fines of up to 6% of global annual revenue.
6%. For a company that size, that's billions of dollars.
It's profit wiping. It changes the entire economic model. And in the most extreme case, if a platform just refuses to comply, the DSA allows the EU to temporarily suspend the service.
They can just turn it off in Europe.
The nuclear option.
Wow. But I have to play devil's advocate for a second. I'm listening to this, and I open my TikTok settings, and there are tools there. Screen time limits, break reminders, parental controls. So if those tools exist, why is the Commission blaming the design? Isn't it on the user or the parent to just use them?
And that is the absolute core of the dispute. The Commission looked at those tools and essentially called them security theater.
Security theater, why?
Because they place the entire burden on the user or the child to fight against a supercomputer. The investigation said these tools are easily bypassed. A kid can just click ignore on the limit.
It's like putting a "Please drink responsibly" sticker on a bottle that's designed to pour itself into your mouth.
That's a vivid way to put it. But yeah, that's the argument. You can't design an app to break down a user's self-control and then turn around and say, well, why didn't you use your self-control to stop?
It's a contradiction.
It is. Also, the investigation alleges TikTok omits key data in their own safety assessments.
What kind of data are they leaving out?
They allegedly don't track the intensity of use. For example, how many hours are minors scrolling specifically late at night?
The doom scroll hours. When you're tired, your defenses are down.
Exactly. The EU is saying, show us the data that proves these limits work. And the allegation is that the data either doesn't exist or isn't being used.
Now this moves us from negligence to something more like malice. It's the difference between accidentally making a product too good and knowing it's harmful but keeping it anyway.
And that's where the NPR report comes in.
Which was a bombshell when it dropped.
It really was. NPR got these internal documents from a lawsuit, and they seem to show exactly what the EU is suspecting. Internal chats, presentations.
What's the smoking gun? Give us the quote.
There were a few, but one of the most damning came from a project manager discussing new features. And this manager wrote, quote, "The goal is not to reduce the time users spend on the platform."
Which, look, from a business perspective, obviously, they sell ads, ads need eyes. But seeing it written down in the context of user safety.
It contrasts very sharply with their public statements about digital well-being. Another document had an employee saying innovations were for growth and retention.
The growth at all costs model.
Right. And the analysis suggests that the trust and safety teams were often just overruled by the product teams, whose bonuses are tied to engagement.
So safety says, Maybe don't let kids scroll for 6 hours at 2 a.m. and product says, but that's our best quarter.
Essentially, it paints a picture of a company that knew about the potential harms and chose to prioritize the algorithm's efficiency.
We have to be fair, though. These are leaks. TikTok didn't just stay silent. What's their defense?
And it's important to hear it. Their spokesperson, Alex Herrick, called the NPR report highly irresponsible. His main point was that these documents were outdated and taken completely out of context.
So you're looking at old drafts and pretending it's current policy.
Right. They argue they've since built robust safeguards, especially for users under 16. And regarding the EU's findings, this is just a preliminary verdict. TikTok has the right to a formal defense. This is an indictment, not a conviction.
Okay, so the court battle is coming. But here's the thing that strikes me. We're focusing on TikTok. But if I open Instagram Reels right now, or YouTube Shorts, it all looks and feels exactly the same.
It's the TikTokification of the internet. It's the dominant format now.
So if the EU is saying TikTok's design is illegal, isn't basically every major social app also illegal?
That is the billion-dollar question. TikTok is the first target, probably because it's the biggest and best at this model, but the precedent here could apply to everyone.
We have a note here about Meta, Facebook, and Instagram. What are they doing while TikTok is taking all the heat?
Well, ironically, they're doubling down. They just announced updates to their Reels recommendation engine to make it learn your interests even faster.
So they're trying to copy the exact thing that's under investigation.
They're trying to replicate the stickiness. It's an arms race in the attention economy. Attention is a zero-sum game.
If TikTok has the infinite scroll and Instagram introduces friction or makes you click a button,
Instagram loses. Users will just go where the dopamine is faster and easier.
it's a collective action problem. No single company can afford to be the healthy one because the healthy product is boring compared to the addictive one.
Exactly. And the industry is trapped. They can't stop this voluntarily without destroying their own business model.
Which is why the regulators are stepping in. If the law forces everyone to stop, then the playing field is level. But what does stopping even look like?
Well, this would be a radical redesign. The Commission has floated a few remedies. The biggest one, disabling the infinite scroll.
Turning it off.
Imagine you scroll through, say, 20 videos, and then you just hit a footer, a solid bar that says, you're all caught up, or load more.
That friction.
That tiny moment of friction changes everything psychologically. It moves you from that subconscious autopilot to conscious choice.
Yeah.
You have to decide to keep going.
That sounds, honest, it sounds annoying. And I think that's the fear, right? That users will hate it.
They might. But we also hated seatbelts when they were first introduced. We felt restricted. Now we feel unsafe without them.
That's a good point. What else?
Truly effective screen breaks.
Define effective, because I swipe away my current break notifications without even reading them.
The EU wants breaks that actually interrupt the flow. Maybe the screen goes gray. Maybe you have to solve a simple puzzle to unlock the next batch of videos.
Like CAPTCHA to keep scrolling. Wow. And what about the algorithm itself?
This is the most technical part. They want the recommendation systems adapted to reduce excessive content consumption.
They want to make the product worse on purpose?
They would argue they want to make it safer. But yes, from an engagement standpoint, it makes the product worse. It's like limiting the amount of nicotine in a cigarette.
It really feels like we are at a tipping point. For a decade, the metric for success in tech was time spent. How long can we keep eyes on glass?
And now the EU is saying that metric is a liability. It's a clash of civilizations. Silicon Valley values engagement. Brussels values safety.
So for the listener who has been with us on this and maybe is listening while doom scrolling on another screen right now, what is the big takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is validation. If you feel like you're losing control, it's not because you're flawed or you lack discipline. It's because you are fighting a system that employs some of the smartest people in the world, specifically designed to bypass your defenses.
You brought a knife to a nuclear fight.
Exactly. And the fact that we're seeing fines of 6% of global revenue on the table means the world is finally waking up to the cost of that free entertainment. The bill is coming due.
It leaves us with a really provocative thought to end on. We used to have cigarette ads on TV. I've seen old clips of the Flintstones promoting cigarettes.
They were everywhere.
They were cool. They were everywhere. And then, as a society, we decided, no, this product is too addictive to be marketed this way.
We banned them. We changed the environment.
So if the infinite scroll is banned, if the autopilot is turned off, will we miss it? Will we be angry that our favorite app is now clunky and slow?
Or will we look back in 10 years and wonder how we ever let an algorithm dictate so much of our time?
Or is it even possible to put the genie back in the bottle? Is our attention now permanently wired for the scroll?
That is the question.
And maybe the answer is to just put the phone down for a minute and see what happens. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.